It's simple, really. Great stories with a good cup of tea. It's the Tea with Mike show. Alright guys, welcome to another episode of the Tea with Mike show. Joining me for this one is Geordie Cheeseman. Welcome to Tea with Mike, Geordie.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be on your show.
Yeah, super excited to have you on the show. So let's start it off. Really easy to begin. Do you want to start by telling everyone where you grew up and where you now call home?
Well, I actually grew up in the interior of British Columbia. I grew up in the mountains outside of Salmon Arm, British Columbia. Very nice place, beautiful, but not a lot of work. So as soon as I was old enough to graduate high school and get away from there, I left. I joined the military and had a very good career with them and moved around quite a bit through Canada. Started out in Winnipeg and was out in Wainwright, Gagetown, Kingston, and then finally back here to Edmonton, where I've been for the last 8 years. And I'm retired now. And I love it here. It's a great town for what I like to do.
Awesome. And then so I'm curious to know, because I believe you were you served in the military for 27 years in total, correct?
Got it. Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm interested how you became interested in the military and why you decided to join and give your service to the country.
Well, I think a lot of people join for employment, but I think they're in the minority. They probably joined for the same reasons I did. Just wanted to make a difference, wanted to help people who can't help themselves. And I signed up and put on the uniform. And I was in the infantry that whole time. PPCLI, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. And boy, what a ride. But it's funny because once you join the military, it's quite a different story than the reasons for joining. Because you're a small cog in a very big machine, and you have little rewards here and there of for little personal victories and times that you feel good about what you're doing. And then the rest of the time, well, it's, as they say, the hurry up and wait game, right? And lots of room for advancement. It was a great job. It served me well. And I retired at the age of 46 and with a full pension, and I can pursue the things I love now.
That's
I only had
fantastic.
2 operators, and they were in Bosnia and Croatia.
Awesome. Sounds like a good career, like you said, in terms of advancement. What are some of the skills that you think you developed from your time in the military, both personally and professionally?
Well, the infantry, they certainly get you in shape. That's one thing. I don't know if you can call being in good shape a skill, but it gave me the dedication to keep up that, exercise and whatnot, which I still do today. It teaches you a lot of patience and discipline. It teaches you how to put one foot in front of the other when you're not sure when the next step is. It's just important to keep moving forward. And I apply that to life every day. You know how those mornings when you wake up and you just don't feel like getting out of bed. But, one thing the military taught me is you got to get out of bed. You got to get up and you got to move forward. And I would say I owe a lot to my time served. It really made me the person I am, and it really made me appreciate life in and outside of the military. I mean, I haven't been in for almost 5 years now, but it'll always be a part of who I am.
Awesome, man. And so in some ways, when we're going to talk about this a lot more later in the conversation, but you're probably grateful for your military background for the world, what we currently find ourselves in, the pandemic, and that ability to getting up each day and to keep going and to like keep believing and that type of thing.
Yeah, certainly. You know, it's a funny thing. You know, I'm an actor now, and so I've got one foot on the left side, but there's the institutional part of me that's got the one foot on the right side too. And it's I've got a lot of Facebook friends, and they're all on both sides, and it's fun reading some of them, the way they go back and forth. You know, wearing a mask, that's a big thing. I'm institutional. My government tells me to wear a mask. You know,
Right.
not to say my head is in the sand about the reasons why. You know, it's just, well, I believe it or not, I actually trust our government. You know, I mean, some funny things going on there sometimes, but overall, you know, I trust that they have our welfare in mind. And yeah.
Fantastic. And then so obviously let's just go back a little bit. What was it like serving in Bosnia and Croatia, like in terms of the environment and some of the challenges that you faced during your time serving on those missions?
Well, my time, the first one was Croatia in '93, and there was a lot of action there. The battle for the Medak Pocket was during that tour. And although not directly involved, I mean, repercussions were felt all through our unit while we were serving there. Yeah, I was only 22 years old.
Wow.
And you know, I was pretty green, and I saw threats everywhere. I was always anxious, you know, but, you know, it was a 6-month tour with 3 months of preparation and training. And I would say that I was prepared as well as I could have been going into that. And it taught me a lot. It taught me that, wow, there's another world out there, another like culture. And it sounds silly, naive to say it in those words, but just life entirely different from ours. You know, where families will separate over religious differences, you know, and go to war over it. And it was very strange and very stressful too. There are landmines off the beaten path. You know, we had very strict places we could patrol, and our main job over there on that tour was well, we had a lot of roadblocks. We confiscated weapons, and we did a lot of escorts of VIPs and whatnot. You know, far different from my second tour in Bosnia in 2000. It was more about maintaining what we'd established and returning refugees to their homes and supplying them basic needs to get by.
Did you? I know there were two different mission objectives and a little bit of time in between those two tours, but did you as an individual feel better prepared when you toured Bosnia, like compared to Croatia, because you had a little bit more experience and more preparation and knowledge?
Yeah, well, yes, yeah, I would say so. I mean, I was 7 years older. You know, you grow a lot between 22 and 29, right? Your maturity level is like, well, it's doubled if you can measure it. Yeah, it was well, it was more peaceful then, and we knew that going in on the second tour. And it was more the separation from friends and family that was probably harder on that tour because you had more time to think. In fact, they even ran courses on that tour where we got qualified in more skills. You know? And it was pretty cool. Yeah. I was on patrols probably 6 out of 7 days a week. Yeah, and those patrols are about 8 and 9 hours. And it was nice. You meet the locals, you know, you kind of get an idea of the troubles that they were facing still, you know, being, returning home. And yeah, for some of them, it was horrible. You know, they'd be coming back into rubble that used to be their house. And we had teams that would be in there clearing mines and whatnot, and the engineers. and we just did everything we could to assist them, you know.
Yeah, that's always fascinated me, like how there's different types of missions, from like peacekeeping to helping certain areas like rebuild to like out and out combat, because I think it's perceived in the media that, well, obviously the war is bad, obviously there's death, and that's very unfortunate and a lot of life lost, but like you just described, like meeting the locals and like trying to help them, which is not about you being Canadian or them being Croatian or Bosnian. That's like a people to people like gesture and relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know hardship until you see something like that overseas, you know. And then you come home and you're standing in a bank lineup and somebody's complaining that they've been waiting a couple of minutes. And
Right.
I don't rage over that or anything, you know. But inside my head, I'm just thinking, you know, I wish everybody only had to wait in bank lineups as a hardship.
Gotcha. So really, like you tell me, it like shifts your perspective on life, what really matters at the end of the day.
Yes, yes. And it's really fed into the lifestyle I lead now. And
Okay.
I'm always challenging myself to do something new. I'm always reminding myself to appreciate what I have and the country that we live in, and all the opportunities it provides. I mean, this is a great life we have here, and we got to remember that.
For sure, I think that's demonstrated right now, right? Like COVID is hitting a lot of countries incredibly hard. Now, whilst there are cases in Canada, like at the moment, we're fortunate enough to, for the most part, apart from the events and the theatre and the large gatherings, life is still normal in a lot of ways.
Yes. Well, it was funny overseas. You know, you got Zagreb in there. It's kind of like a replica of Vancouver, and life just went on there as normal, even during the war. I don't think they faced a lot of strife there. But I'm sure somebody will correct me on that
one. Well, they'll have to watch the episode.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then
yeah, you may get a different group. Some of my army friends may be watching this, and maybe they'll get hooked into your show.
That'll be cool. And so, what are three skills that you learned in the military? You kind of touched on it already, that you use in your daily life now. You were talking about patience and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. The infantry doesn't teach you a lot of marketable skills, you know, paper. But leadership, I would say, is a skill that I learned. There are natural leaders, and I would never consider myself a natural leader. You know, I went to the Royal Military College from 2006 to 2010, and as if I hadn't had enough leadership as a sergeant, I went there, got my degree, and I got my commission, and I became an officer.
Congrats.
And thanks. And boy, leadership and ethics, it's interwoven into everything you learn there. And although I don't want to manage or lead anything these days, I do recognize the need every now and then for somebody to stand up and maybe take charge, or I can see how other people are handling things and maybe give them a hand, you know. But it's hard. Not a lot of people like getting a hand or getting advice. So, you know, I just like to be a strong right-hand man to somebody sometimes.
Awesome, man.
Another skill. It's really hard to think of them. I can shoot really well, but that doesn't. I don't own any weapons. I don't know. It's never really been me. It's funny. I was in one of the hardest jobs, you know, that that a person could have, but I'd never consider myself alpha. I believe that peace comes through being able to take away weapons from people that don't respect them, don't respect. I don't know. This is hard to. This is from a Western society point of view, but for people who don't respect democratic views, or I don't know. It sounds more like peacemaking and stuff, but I'm not trying to say that. There are a lot of irresponsible people, a lot of irresponsible factions and whatnot that use violence as a means to an end, and that's not right. And they need to be
ways in value to like people's lives and what people at the end of the day, kind of like I was alluding to.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't carry a gun because I wanted to shoot it. I carried a gun because I wanted to take guns away from people who want to shoot them.
Right.
And that's the main reason I joined the military.
Awesome. And then, so what was it like? So, like the first part of your life, very military focus, learning all these different skills. What was it like retiring from the military and then transitioning into, as we speak here today, what is your almost like your new life, your second life, because you obviously see in the media and across the media like all the challenges that people in the military often have transitioning into ordinary civilian life.
Yes. Finding purpose. I'd say the first year after I released, I hopped on the pity train for a little bit there, and I just I don't know. I took it easy. I let my beard grow. I was recovering from a shoulder surgery from wear and tear from the military, and that first year, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I would say I lacked a bit of purpose. And after a while, I thought, what am I doing? There's a life to be lived. I've only lived the first half, hopefully, knock on wood. Just still got just as much ahead of me as and I just decided I wanted to be more than I was. A lot of friends that I have, they retired, and I think they're still struggling to find their way. And a lot of them have operational stress injuries, PTSD, and a lot of them can't face it. And for that, we have Veterans Affairs, and they they help out veterans. They do a lot of paperwork, which is frustrating to soldiers who may not have paperwork as their forte, like administrative skill. And so when you hear a lot of people talking about how Veterans Affairs doesn't look after them, it's because it's not the only reason, but it's because it's hard. And when you apply for something from Veterans Affairs, you get compensation or training or something like that, there's pushback because there's paperwork and that has to be done correctly. And that's where a lot of veterans, I believe, are feeling ignored. It's not factual. It's just what I believe.
Right.
And yeah. I'm so persistent. I'm like a dog that's holding on to a chew toy, If I get a hold of something, I'm going to keep at it. And there are people out there who are listening to this, and they'll know me for that.
It's a bit like me with the Tea with Mike show. I've got to tell everybody about it because I think it has a place in the world, and more people need to know about it.
Yeah,
but and I'm sure it comes across as super persistent sometimes, which can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, you make me drink when I see you drinking, I want to have a drink. This is really good tea, by the way.
What are you drinking?
It is called Celestial Seasonings. It's a Bengal spice.
Is it good?
Wow, yeah, it's really good. Yeah, my girlfriend got me onto this. Get away. I always had to be a dad, or I always had a job I was doing.
Oh, you're
when I went to the festival when I went to the festival last year, it was I watched those buskers for hours, like you say you do, and there's how this is their life. A lot of them. I mean, okay, some of them, it's not their life, but for some of them it is, and they travel around and they're very talented. I mean, I don't know how a guy can sit on a giant unicycle twirling 8 plates above his head, or breathe fire at the same time. It blows my mind. But the people I met there, the Fringe Festival, for some people, it's their Christmas.
Yes.
And it was a hard hit to the guts for a lot of them this year when the Fringe wasn't on because of COVID. I mean, I missed it, and I'd only been to one, and I can't imagine how some people felt who this is what they did every year, and they lived for it.
Be doing it for 30 years plus.
Yeah, it'll be back. I got to say, I really love the culture in Edmonton. There's so much theater. There's so many opportunities. They say Calgary and Vancouver are the Hollywoods of the West, but there are a lot more opportunities, I find, for a small guy like me to get a lot of work, and having an awesome time doing it.
Awesome, man. So obviously you've already mentioned that you've been into different TV things and theater, etc. But if you had to pick just one, which role was your favorite and why?
I was recently in a short film called His Shadow, and it's actually they're having a screening for that later on this month, and I would say it's my favorite. I mean, probably because it was my most dramatic role. I played a priest, and I had a son that needed my help, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. But it was a very dramatic role, and I loved bringing it out. I would bring things up, as Rocky would say, from the basement, and I would bring it up and I would add it to my character. Very emotional scenes. I could draw easily from stuff I've done overseas, or the passing of my father. I mean, that was 15 years ago now, right? So, but still very poignant, And I think anyone who's even owned a dog in their life can easily pull up something that can make them cry if they needed to in a scene, right?
Right. Also, and then so obviously, film, television, theater are quite similar to each other, but yet so different. Do you find that the set of skills that you develop in each of these different areas are transferable, or do they stand on their own?
Well, like you say, they're similar and they're different. So the answer would be yes and no.
That's your flavor game here. I like
it. Film is small movements, theater, big movements. So, the stage, you have to be rather fearless. You do, because you make mistakes. You just gotta keep going. Yeah. And again, I'll go back to the military on that. It's about putting one foot in front of the other. Now, not everyone who's been on stage has been in the military, and I got to commend them for where they're pulling that from, because it's amazing. Like I see some real talent on the stage, and you wouldn't know that they've made mistakes. But yeah, you got to let go. Surrender is a big word that I would use for any type of acting. You have to surrender really who you are, who your hang-ups are, or what your hang-ups are. And just don't worry about things. Don't let things scare you. Unless you're a thrill seeker, then.
I like roller coasters. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always said, do something. Do at least one thing a week that scares you. It gets you out of your comfort zone. So long as it doesn't hurt other people or is not at the cost of someone else. I mean, you should always be trying to push. You should be pushing your limits. You should be all you can be. I always thought that if there were 100 different universes out there, you should strive to be the guy in that one universe who's the best version of yourself.
Okay.
And or not just guy, of course, right? Anyone. And just because you only have one life, you don't want to have any regrets. You know, not everyone's made to jump out of airplanes or dive or do deep sea diving or, you know, but there are things that everyone can push themselves to do. And I encourage everyone to do that. For some people, it might just be going out and doing a 5-kilometer race, you know, and but just challenge yourself. And if that's your challenge, then go at it.
Awesome. And then, if you could pick one thing, what do you find the most rewarding about the theater and acting?
One from each or one altogether?
However you want to answer the question. Do you like the process? Do you like how you have to adapt? Because you mentioned that one of your favorite parts earlier was about the different roles and characters, and is that your favorite part, reacting off how the audience is feeling and the vibes you're getting? Could be anything, you know, honestly.
It's funny. I was just going to say that one. Stage work. It's incredible. You feel like you feel like you're absorbing the energy from the audience when you're on stage. And when I did my first play, I was shaking so badly. My scene, you know, the lights came up. I was lying in bed beside my girlfriend, you know, and this is in the play, and I had to answer my phone, and I was having a conversation on it. My hand was shaking so badly, you know, and I had to, so I brought my knee up, you know, rather naturally, and I put my hand against, or the back of my arm against it, and just to stabilize my hand, and I was just so terrified. And I think my first line was, "Oh yeah, the New York Stock Exchange is active," or something, and I could just hear the quake in my voice. But you know, I just kept pushing it, and it only lasted for a couple of minutes, and it was just a thrill ride from there. You know, if it wasn't for the amount of time that it takes, it goes into a play, I mean, I think I would just do that. But that's what I get out of a stage. Now film's different. Film, you know, you're memorizing the lines, and a lot of times, well, you don't have rehearsals, right? Some directors do, some don't, you know, for film. But you show up and you have an idea of who the character is in your head, and they may correct you on that, or they may let you fly on that. And it's a rewarding experience either way, because you're still keeping a bit of who you are. And then when you're wrapped at the end of it, it's usually you get clapped out. Usually they're like, "Hey, Geordie's been wrapped, and thanks for coming." Everyone claps, and they're like pats in the back, and you know, I love that feeling. I do. I love that feeling of accomplishment. I'll say it. I like the praise. I do. I'm a guy that likes a bit of praise every now and then. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And it's weird though, because afterwards when I watch it, I'm watching myself perform on screen, and I understand why a lot of actors don't watch what they've done later, because you look at yourself and you think, I could have done that a lot differently.
Even when I did the Tea with Mike show, it's the same way. I'm like, felt great at the moment, but like it doesn't afterwards. It's strange.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
100%. So obviously we've talked a lot about characters and more on the I guess enjoyable positive side. So let's flip it. What's been the most challenging role that you've ever played, and why?
Well, I don't know if I'd say I would say probably stage work. You know, when I did the Ano stage for the Fringe Festival, the stage manager, she would she would certainly challenge me. Let's say that. to work on the things in which I was weak. And let's just say it was everything, because I'd never done stage work before, right? You know, all about crossing and blocking and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got blocking in film, but it's not at all the same.
I've done stage five.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I had some frustrating days sometimes. But I told myself, this is the learning process. You know, I mean, it's like building a muscle. You got to tear it to build it.
Right.
You know, you got to break down to build up in most cases. And so I just embraced it. I told myself, this is the way it is. And I just kept moving forward. And I know that there will be more times in the future. You know, it's funny, you get to a certain age where you think you're as smart as you can be, or you know everything. You know, usually you hit it the first time when you're 12. But you know, like I said, I'm hitting 50 next year. And I think I finally hit that mature level where I know I don't know everything.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll walk right into something, you know, as a clean slate, as objective as I can, you know, and keeping in mind that as an actor and not as the director and not as the casting agent, that I am more or less being employed by them and following their direction. And again, the military, right? You tell me to jump, I say how high. And I think that has helped me a lot with my acting as well. And when you shoot the same scene 20 times,
right,
you know, that's fine. You know, I mean, I've been on the parade square doing drill for hours. I mean, it's nothing. I'm not talking about the physical. I'm just talking about mental. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I would rather the director gets what they want and I stay there double time for the same pay or no pay. I would rather they get what they want and that they're happy with my performance, because that's why I'm there. You know, I'm there to help a director or the writer realize what they've created. And to me, that's something incredible as well.
Awesome. Right. Nice. And then so how has COVID-19 affected you? If at all?
Well, I've been spending a lot more time with my kids because they were home from school when all the schools shut down in March. And I was pretty busy with them. And any parent out there, you know, will pull out their hair when I say these two words, Google Classroom. It was online teaching run by the students who were still run by the teachers. Yeah, it's pretty much run by the students. I'm just going to pour myself some more tea here. Yeah, and of course, because the teachers weren't all fired, right? I mean, they were still running classrooms. I mean, I don't know what hiring and firing policies were during COVID, so I won't even pretend to guess. But the teachers that they had when the schools closed, they still kept them, and they were just online classes. And I tell you, I had to build a marble roller coaster with my daughter, and so it had to involve two machines, as they say. I had an incline and like a corkscrew and I think a lever. Anyway, the idea was you put the ball in motion like a marble, and it had to move less than 21 seconds. It had to be in motion. And we spent probably 5 days making that thing. And I don't know. I like to say I don't have a temper, but it came out a couple of times. It was a challenge. And you know, there are a lot of things that they were learning on classroom there that I think they should have probably just stuck to reading, writing, and acting. I had a play that was supposed to come out towards the end of March, early April, at the Devon Playhouse. It was called Allocating Annie, and it was postponed until further notice. They're looking at maybe running it this coming spring, but again, I mean, nothing's a sure thing right now.
Sure.
a lot of acting jobs. All of them. They pretty much ceased for a couple of months there, and then small ones started opening up, like for commercials and whatnot. And I managed to get in on a few of those. And
congratulations.
Yeah, like Mr. Barber, and House to Home Equity, and the casino, I think. Oh no, that was before COVID. But yeah, there are a few small businesses that ran some commercials, and the crews were they followed all the guidelines. It was never more than a couple of guys on the crew, and there's never more than 2 or 3 actors, and we all had our masks on in between shots. And in some cases we had the mask on because for Mr. Barber, they were promoting wearing masks, you know.
Oh, it's good. Now, yeah.
And one of the commercials was for certified masks, and so that was all right too, because you're actually wearing the mask in the commercial because you're trying to sell the mask, right?
Right.
And yeah, and I got my daughter in on that one.
Oh, fantastic!
So, yeah, the 2 of us were sitting at a breakfast table, and
I saw it. You guys look great. Like it looked really like authentic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she did wonderfully. I'm so proud of her. And her and my son, the 10 and the 9-year-old, they've been in. She's been in 3 different things, and he's been in a couple of things.
Oh, cool.
And, just indie films mostly, but yeah, the one commercial I did with my daughter. So, and then all the casting calls and the platform. I go online, Actors Access. You know, there wasn't anything on there. It was all dried up. So, you know, I dedicated my time to my kids. I taught myself to play on the guitar badly, but
nice.
And it gave me some songs for one of the things I like to do called Weird Al Karaoke, which is at the Grindstone.
You read my mind, but I was gonna ask you like more about it. Like, what is it?
Oh, it is very funny. Usually, when there's not a pandemic going on, it's usually the second Thursday of every month.
Okay.
It's at the Grindstone off of close to White Avenue down in Old Stratford.
Run by Byron and his.
Yeah, Byron. Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
I don't know him personally, but I know that he runs the Grindstone and stuff. So.
Well, you know, I've exchanged a few words with him, but yeah, I mean, I don't do lunch with him every day, but he's a really nice guy. Yeah, I like him. And the Grindstone is, it's got good food, it's got good drink, and it's got good entertainment.
Right, because they just renovated and did it all just before, like, pretty at the start of the year.
Yeah, well, they're running some shows now. If you go on their website, you can see what they have. They have some stand-up, but as far as you know, people like me coming in and singing made-up songs. So Weird Al Karaoke is it's karaoke to popular songs. However, you make up your own lyrics. So you know, I sang a song called "Sweet Cialis" to the tune of "Sweet Caroline."
Okay.
And, that's probably not for all viewers here. And my girlfriend and I, that's actually where I met her. She was singing up on stage. Her name's Lisa. She's sweet. She's wonderful. But she was up on stage and she was singing, and I needed a date one night for an event, and I asked her out, and and here we are. We're still together.
That's a story within itself. That's good. That's cool.
Yeah, it's nice to be with somebody who shares those interests.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's really important because, you know, and they're more understanding of it. When you get that casting call, could you come to Calgary tomorrow to try on a hat or something for wardrobe, right? I mean, like she would understand that, and that, you know, if we had plans and I canceled them or whatnot, and so it's good to be with someone with a similar interest and creativity and all that you can bounce ideas off of. But yeah. Weird Al Karaoke, wonderful time. If you don't want to perform, you can go in and you can watch the show. Once it kicks off again, I'd recommend going to that. It's very funny.
Now, do you know who invented Weird Al Karaoke? Because I've never heard of it before. up until this?
Sounds like it might be another fun fact we're going to have to look up. No, I don't, but I know it's not just here in Edmonton.
Okay.
I think I Googled it once, and I think that there are a number of cities across North America that do something very similar to this.
I'm going to look it up afterwards.
Okay.
Nice. And then so as well as learning the guitar with your kids, acting from the military, you also have done some bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So
Last year around March or April 2019 there, I love the gym. I've always loved the gym. You know, I spend an hour or two there every day. I'm not manic about it. Like if I have something planned, I'll skip a day and I won't lose sleep over it. But I decided I wanted to go past what I knew and whatnot. I've done like lots of marathons and competed in lots of military sporting events and whatnot. I was on the biathlon team in the 90s. Where,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was on the Western team. We went out to Karaoke and had our behinds handed to us by the French, and it was, but it was a good time. Anyway, so I went and saw a trainer. I just looked one up online, and the first one I saw was the first one I went to, and I don't think I could have found a better person. Helen Bouchard over at High Definition Fitness. I told her I wanted to be in shape. I told her I wanted to change the way I looked, and and she said, "Oh, do you want to compete?" And I'm like, "No, no, I can't imagine going up on stage wearing a bikini. It's a crazy idea." And we sat down. She was going over, the programs and stuff. And as I was sitting there listening to her, I thought, "This isn't YOLO. How can I say I'm YOLO if I don't say, yeah, I'm going to compete?" So I decided I was going to compete, and she put me on a year-long training plan, and I competed for the first time in March. It was actually 2 days before they shut down like everything for the quarantine.
Right.
And I went up on stage, and I was in 3 categories. I was in the Masters, that's the 40 to 50. Next year I can be Grandmaster. The other category is heavyweight, that's 200 roughly to 225. And true novice, which is first timer, like never been on stage before for that kind of thing. And in all 3 categories, I won. And
wow.
I was like, I couldn't, like the guys that beat, they were bigger than I was, like muscles, right? And but it came down to diet, and military again, it's very disciplined. Well, almost 100%, Sometimes that tub of peanut butter needs a spoon in it, right? I won, and I've got 3 trophies that kind of look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And because I came in first, it qualified me to go off and compete in the nationals. I thought, well, I'm not gonna. And then I thought, nope, YOLO. So this December 5th, I'm going to go to Toronto, and I'm going to try to win first in Canada.
Good
and
for you.
Yeah, and it's in the naturals, right? That's no injections, no substances, nothing like that.
Right.
It's just all natural. Just 1 protein shake a day and crap loads of food. So, and no fat, no sugar, no salt, no dairy, no bread, no fun. And yeah.
That's fun. It's almost like you recognize where I was taking this. So talk to me about the YOLO perspective and how this perspective came into your life.
Well, I touched on it a little bit earlier. Basically, be the best version of yourself, ethically, reach for the stars, but don't have those expectations that you're always going to get them. But if you don't try, you won't get it. You won't make it out your front door if you don't put your feet in front of you, right? And the YOLO, seriously, you don't want to get to the end of your life, or you don't want to get to that point in your life where you can't do some things. One of my favorite movies, or the whole franchise, is Rocky. And I think it was in Rocky Balboa when he's, I think he's 60 or something, and he's like, the further I get in life, there are more people who are just telling me what I can't do. And you're going to get to that point where that's going to happen, and where you actually can't do it anymore. And I realize I come from a very, I don't know if it's lucky or earned or whether I just happen to be in the right place, right time, but I'm in a spot in my life where I can do this. And there are a lot of people who can't. COVID has hit a lot of people.
Mm.
I'm lucky that I don't have to work and I can pursue these. So, I don't know, I'm kind of dancing around it. But the YOLO thing, I have the time, I don't need the money, and I'm just going to do everything I can and live the most exciting life that I can, and again, not at the expense of anyone else. Like when I go for a role in a movie or a film, excuse me, when I go for a role in a movie or a film and I don't get it, I don't feel put out by it, because it doesn't mean I was the worst guy. It doesn't mean I was the best guy. It means it just means I wasn't the guy the casting director was looking for, and I get that.
Which is one person's perspective and opinion at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I don't take it personally.
Right.
Like maybe I'm 6'4", and I realize that knocks me out of a lot of casting jobs, because you don't want to be put beside the star when you're bigger than them. Unless the star is getting his ass kicked and by a big guy, right? Or maybe in Lord of the Rings, maybe they're looking for a big orc or something like that. But, they film that in New Zealand.
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
I'd love to be. Oh my gosh, but yeah, they hire New Zealand actors, and there are a lot of shows that a lot of things it's hard to bust out of from Canada, But I'm looking. But yeah, if I went to sleep on any given day and I felt like I hadn't taken a step in the direction that I want to go, I would feel like the day was not wasted. Now, that's also a weakness of mine, because I'm a little hard on myself sometimes when I don't have a productive day. And it's not realistic to think that every day is going to be a day that you're going to be adding to, your own professional development.
Right.
So, but I'm driven, and I love my fellow man, and I'm very ethical, and I'm just living an awesome life right now.
Fantastic. And as we kind of wrap up the conversation today, what's one piece of advice, especially I'm curious to know, especially because of your military background, that you would like to leave people with? Can be from any aspect of your life, or a teaching or a lesson, anything like that.
I had an old sergeant major that said once, he said, when you know better, you do better. So if you see a chance to help somebody, or if you see a chance to improve a situation, don't just walk by it. The RCRs, another infantry regiment out east, they say never pass a fault. It kind of goes along with that as well. Just just be a good person. And that's the best advice I can give. I mean, if you have to ask yourself if you were a jerk in a situation, then you probably were, But we live in a very individual society, a very individualistic society right now. Sure, we're all connected on social media, but at the click of a mouse, you can end any conversation. You don't have that FaceTime that we used to have, and it's really hard to think of other people. But just remember, everyone carries around a universe, their own personal universe, which is just as important as yours. and their hero in that universe is them, and your hero is you. You're the hero of every story, but you just got to remember that other people see themselves the same way. And yeah, I don't know. I I'm no guru. I don't know everything, but you know, I don't know. I hope you edit this. Actually, I'm all jumping all over the place now.
That's all good. I'm gonna leave it in. It's natural. It's not scripted. It's conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Just have fun in life. And I know most of you out there, you got to make a living, but try to fit in that spicy life in between.
Fantastic. Well, man, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and keep up the good work. You're talking to a lot of people. You're putting out a lot of different perspectives, and I really love your show. Yeah.
Thank you, man. All right, guys, this was another episode of the Tea with Mike show with Geordie. I really hope you stuck around to the end and you're listening to my voice. Make sure you check out the other episodes of the show on my website. Thanks again, Geordie.
Thanks, Mike.
It's the Tea with Mike show.